The emotional journey of a mother who adopted a 10-year-old girl and changed their lives forever. Do you believe in second chances and the power of love to change lives? This is the incredible story of a woman who opened her heart and home to a 10-year-old girl, and how they both transformed each other's world in ways they never imagined. Hit subscribe to follow more uplifting and heartwarming stories that touch your soul. Sarah Mitchell stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of her 48th floor penthouse, watching the Chicago skyline shimmer in the golden twilight. Her reflection stared back at her, impeccable in her tailored charcoal suit, not a strand of her chestnut hair out of place. To the world, she was the epitome of success, senior vice president of operations at one of Chicago's most prestigious consulting firms, owner of a multi-million-dollar apartment, and featured in Forbes' 40 Under 40 just 2 years ago. Yet as she pressed her forehead against the cool glass, a familiar emptiness echoed through her chest. The sound of her heels clicking against the marble floors reverberated through the vast space as she made her way to the kitchen. The countertops gleamed with unused potential, a state-of-the-art coffee maker that only served one, a dining table that had never hosted a family dinner. At 42 years old, Sarah had mastered the art of solitude, or so she told herself. She convinced everyone, including herself, that her work was enough, that the thrill of closing multi-million-dollar deals could fill the void that grew deeper with each passing year. That evening, as she prepared for the annual Children's Hope Foundation Gala, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. She'd attended this event for the past 5 years, writing generous checks and making the appropriate small talk. But tonight felt different. Perhaps it was the way the setting sun cast long shadows across her empty apartment, or maybe it was the quiet that seemed to grow louder with each passing day. The gala was held at the historic Drake Hotel, its grand ballroom transformed into a glittering showcase of Chicago's elite. Sarah navigated the crowd with practiced ease, exchanging pleasantries and business cards. It wasn't until she reached the bar that a familiar voice cut through the ambient chatter. "Sarah Mitchell, I thought that was you." Rebecca Thompson, her college roommate turned child welfare advocate, appeared at her side. 20 years had passed since their graduation, but Rebecca's warm smile hadn't changed a bit. They embraced, and Sarah felt something crack in her carefully maintained facade. "How long has it been?" Rebecca asked, her eyes twinkling. 5 years? 6? "At least," Sarah replied, grateful for the champagne in her hand. "I saw your name in the Tribune last month. Something about reforming the foster care system?" Rebecca's face lit up. "Yes, we're making real progress, Sarah, but there's so much more to be done. Did you know there are over 100,000 children in the foster care system just waiting to be adopted? And the older ones," she paused, her expression softening, "they often wait the longest." Sarah listened as Rebecca shared stories of children who had aged out of the system, of teenagers who had given up hope of finding a forever family. Something in these stories resonated deep within her, touching a part of her heart she locked away years ago. "Have you ever considered adoption?" Rebecca asked suddenly, catching Sarah off guard. The question hung in the air between them. Sarah's automatic response, a polite deflection about her busy career, died on her lips. Instead, she found herself saying, "I wouldn't know where to begin." Rebecca squeezed her arm gently. "Maybe that's exactly where you should start." The conversation shifted to other topics, but that question followed Sarah home that night. As she sat in her silent apartment, laptop open to yet another quarterly report, her fingers instead typed "Adoption Process Illinois" into the search bar. Hours slipped by as Sarah delved deeper into the world of adoption. Stories of older children in foster care captured her attention, their resilience, their hope, their need for stability and love. One profile, in particular, made her pause. Emily, age 10, quiet and thoughtful, enjoys reading and drawing. In foster care for 6 years, dreams of having her own room and someone to read her bedtime stories. The photograph showed a small girl with serious brown eyes and dark hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. She wasn't smiling, but there was something in her expression that spoke of both wisdom and vulnerability. Sarah found herself returning to Emily's profile again and again over the next few weeks. Her friends thought she lost her mind when she first mentioned adoption. "But you're at the peak of your career," they protested. A child would change everything. Sarah knew they were right. It would change everything. Maybe that was exactly what she needed. The first meeting with Emily was scheduled for a Tuesday afternoon. Sarah arrived at the foster care center 30 minutes early, her heart pounding. The social worker, Ms. Martinez, led her to a small room with cheerful yellow walls and worn furniture. Emily can be quite reserved, Ms. Martinez explained. She's been through a lot of transitions. When Emily entered the room, Sarah's carefully prepared speech evaporated. The girl was smaller than she'd expected, wearing jeans and a purple sweater that seemed slightly too big. Her dark eyes took in everything, including Sarah, with careful consideration. "Hello, Emily," Sarah managed. "I'm Sarah. Would you like to sit down?" Emily crouched on the edge of the couch, her hands folded in her lap. The silence stretched between them until Sarah remembered the book in her bag, a copy of Bridge to Terabithia she'd loved at Emily's age. "I brought something," she said, pulling out the book. "I thought maybe we could read together." Something flickered in Emily's eyes, interest, perhaps even hope. She nodded, and Sarah began to read. By the end of the first chapter, Emily had moved closer, peering at the illustrations. When Sarah closed the book, Emily spoke for the first time. "Can we read more next time?" Those 6 words changed everything. Sarah visited twice more that week, then 3 times the next. They read together, drew pictures, and slowly, very slowly, Emily began to talk. She told Sarah about her favorite subjects in school, art and science, her dream of having a pet cat, and how she'd once tried to count all the stars she could see from her bedroom window. The adoption process was complex, filled with paperwork, home studies, and background checks. Sarah threw herself into it with the same determination she brought to her business deals. Her apartment underwent a transformation. The stark, minimalist decor softened with touches of color and warmth. The guest room that had never hosted a guest became Emily's room, painted in soft lavender with twinkling fairy lights strung across the ceiling. 3 months after their first meeting, Emily moved in. The transition was both wonderful and terrifying. Sarah discovered that all her business acumen couldn't prepare her for the challenges of motherhood. Emily's nightmares came frequently at first, her small body shaking with sobs as Sarah held her, whispering promises of safety and love. During the day, they navigated their new reality. Sarah learned to pack school lunches, to help with homework, to navigate the social dynamics of 5th grade. Emily learned that it was okay to leave books on the coffee table, to laugh out loud, to ask for seconds at dinner. Their first major breakthrough came on a rainy Sunday afternoon. They were attempting to bake cookies. Sarah had never baked anything from scratch before. When the mixer sputtered, sending flour everywhere, for a moment they both froze, flour coating their faces and clothes. Then Emily giggled. The sound was so unexpected, so pure, that Sarah couldn't help but laugh too. Soon they were both howling with laughter, sliding on the flour-covered floor, all thoughts of cookies forgotten. That evening, as Sarah tucked Emily into bed, the girl asked quietly, "Are you going to send me back?" Sarah's heart clenched. "No, sweetheart. Never. You're stuck with me now." Emily was silent for a long moment. "Good," she finally whispered, "because I want to stay." As weeks turned into months, their bond grew stronger. Sarah learned to read Emily's moods, when she needed space, when she needed comfort, when she was trying to be brave instead of asking for help. Emily learned that Sarah meant what she said, that promises made would be kept, that love didn't have to be earned. The challenges didn't disappear. Emily struggled with trust, with abandonment fears, with fitting in at school. Sarah struggled with balancing work and motherhood, with knowing when to push and when to step back, with her own fears of not being enough. But there were also moments of pure joy. Emily's first school play, where she had exactly 1 line but delivered it perfectly. The day she brought home an A on her science project about the solar system. The morning Sarah found a handmade Mother's Day card on her pillow, covered in glitter and hearts. 6 months after the adoption was finalized, they started a new tradition. Every Sunday evening, they would sit on their balcony with hot chocolate, with extra marshmallows for Emily, and share their highs and lows from the week. It was during one of these sessions that Emily asked about her birth mother. Sarah had been preparing for this question, but it still caught her off guard. She took a deep breath and answered as honestly as she could, explaining that sometimes parents are unable to take care of their children, not because they don't love them, but because life can be complicated. Emily was quiet for a long time, watching the city lights flicker on as dusk settled around them. Finally, she said, "I used to think something was wrong with me. That's why nobody wanted to keep me." Sarah pulled her daughter close. "There is nothing wrong with you, Emily. Nothing. Sometimes it takes a while for the right people to find each other, that's all." As Emily grew more confident, she began to show more of her personality. She had a sharp wit that could make Sarah laugh unexpectedly, a creative streak that manifested in elaborate stories and drawings, and a gentle heart that worried about stray cats and lonely classmates alike. Sarah found herself changing too. The drive that had once been focused solely on career advancement now included a deeper purpose. She started volunteering at Emily's school, joined the PTA, and even helped organize a support group for adoptive parents. 1 year after Emily came home, they celebrated with a special dinner. Sarah had learned to cook a few decent meals by then, and they set the table with their best dishes. As they ate, they shared memories from their first year together. The good, the bad, and the funny. "Remember when you tried to make pancakes that first weekend?" Emily giggled. "They were black on the outside and raw in the middle." "Hey, I've improved," Sarah protested, laughing. "At least now they're only slightly burned." After dinner, Sarah brought out a small wrapped package. Inside was a silver locket with their picture together, taken at the park on a sunny afternoon. Emily's eyes filled with tears as she opened it. "Now you'll always have a piece of home with you," Sarah said softly. Emily hugged her tightly. "You're my home," she whispered. That night, as Sarah watched Emily sleeping peacefully in her fairy light-lit room, she reflected on how much their lives had changed. The empty penthouse had become a home filled with laughter, artwork on the refrigerator, and the occasional chaos of a pre-teen girl's life. Her own heart, once focused solely on career success, had expanded in ways she never thought possible. Their story continued to unfold, day by day, moment by moment. Emily entered middle school, joining the science club and making new friends. Sarah adjusted her work schedule, learning that some deals could wait if it meant being there for her daughter's important moments. They faced challenges together: Emily's first heartbreak when her best friend moved away, Sarah's adjustment to parent-teacher conferences and school politics, their shared learning curve in communication and trust. But they also shared countless moments of joy: impromptu dance parties in the kitchen, weekend adventures exploring Chicago's museums, quiet evenings reading together on the couch. 2 years after the adoption, they decided to give back to the community that had brought them together. They started volunteering at the local foster care center, sharing their story with potential adoptive parents and children waiting for their forever homes. Emily, once so quiet and withdrawn, became passionate about helping other kids like herself find families. Sarah watched with pride as her daughter spoke to a group of prospective parents, her voice strong and clear. "Sometimes the best families are the ones we choose," Emily told them. "And sometimes it takes a while to find each other, but when you do, it's worth everything." Later that night, as they walked home hand in hand, Emily asked, "Do you ever regret adopting me?" Sarah stopped walking and turned to face her daughter. "Emily, adopting you was the best decision I've ever made. You didn't just change my life, you gave it meaning. You made me a mother, and that's the greatest gift anyone has ever given me." Emily smiled, her eyes shining with tears. "You gave me a home," she said simply. "You gave me love when I'd stopped believing in it." They stood there on the sidewalk, hugging each other as the city bustled around them. Two souls who had once been lost in their own ways, now found in each other. Their story wasn't perfect, it was messy and complicated and real, but it was theirs, and it was beautiful. As they continued their walk home, Sarah thought about all the empty apartments in all the tall buildings around them, and all the lonely hearts waiting to be filled with love. She squeezed Emily's hand, grateful for the twist of fate that had brought them together. Their story became an inspiration to others in their community. Sarah spoke at adoption awareness events, sharing their journey with honesty and hope. Emily, now thriving in school and growing more confident each day, started a club for adopted kids and their friends, creating a space where everyone belonged. 3 years after Emily came home, They decided to adopt a cat from the local shelter. They chose an older cat that had been overlooked by other families, the gentle orange tabby with one eye and a crooked tail. Emily named him Phoenix, because he got a second chance, just like me. Phoenix became the perfect addition to their family, his purring presence adding another layer of warmth to their home. He would curl up with Emily during homework time, sit with Sarah during her early morning coffee, and somehow always know when either of them needed extra comfort. As Emily approached her teenage years, their relationship continued to evolve. There were arguments about boundaries and privileges, tears over friend drama and school pressure, moments when they both had to step back and remember to breathe. But underneath it all was a foundation of trust and love that grew stronger with each challenge they overcame. Sarah learned that success couldn't be measured solely in professional achievements or material possessions. True success was in the quiet moments, helping Emily work through a math problem, celebrating small victories, being there to wipe away tears and share in laughter. Emily learned that family wasn't about blood or birth certificates. It was about choice and commitment, about showing up every day, about love that stayed even when things got hard. She learned that her past didn't define her future, and that she was worthy of love just as she was. Together, they learned that healing wasn't linear, that growth took time, that sometimes the best conversations happened over midnight snacks or during long car rides. They learned to be patient with each other's flaws, to celebrate each other's strengths, to hold space for both joy and pain. 5 years after Emily came home, they took their first vacation together, a trip to the ocean. Emily had never seen the sea before, and Sarah would never forget the look of wonder on her daughter's face as she stood at the edge of the waves, toes buried in the sand. "It's so big," Emily whispered, reaching for Sarah's hand. "It makes you feel small, but not in a bad way." Sarah understood exactly what she meant. Standing there with her daughter, watching the endless horizon, she felt both humbled and complete. The emptiness that had once dominated her life was gone, replaced by a love so vast it could rival the ocean before them. That evening, they sat on the beach watching the sunset, Phoenix curled up in his travel carrier nearby. Emily leaned against Sarah's shoulder, sand still clinging to her feet. "Mom," she said softly, "thank you for choosing me." Sarah wrapped her arm around her daughter, heart full to bursting. "Thank you for choosing me too, sweetheart." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant shades of pink and gold, Sarah thought about all the choices that had led them here. The late-night internet searches, the fears she'd pushed through, the leap of faith she'd taken. Every step, every challenge, every moment of doubt had been worth it. Their story wasn't just about adoption or second chances. It was about the transformative power of love, about the family we create, about the courage to open our hearts even when we're scared. It was about two people who were broken in different ways, finding wholeness in each other. The Chicago penthouse was still there, but it had transformed from a showcase of success into a true home. The walls that had once echoed with emptiness now resonated with life, with music and laughter, with arguments and reconciliations, with the daily symphony of family life. Sarah's definition of success had shifted dramatically. Yes, she still led her team at work, still closed important deals, still maintained her professional excellence. But now she measured her achievements differently. In bedtime stories read, in tears wiped away, in promises kept, in trust earned. Emily had blossomed from a quiet, withdrawn child into a confident, compassionate young person. She still carried the scars of her early years, but they had faded, overshadowed by the love and stability she'd found. Her dreams had expanded beyond having her own room. Now she talked about college plans and becoming a child psychologist, about helping other kids find their forever homes, about making a difference in the world. Their story continued to touch others. At a recent adoption awareness event, Emily stood beside Sarah at the podium, her voice clear and confident as she addressed the crowd. "Everyone deserves a chance to find their family," she said. "Sometimes family isn't about where you start, but where you end up. And sometimes the best families are built on choice, on love, on the decision to be there for each other no matter what." Sarah watched her daughter speak, remembering the quiet girl who had been afraid to take up space in the world. Now Emily filled rooms with her presence, advocated for others, and dreamed big dreams. The transformation wasn't just in Emily. Sarah too had changed in countless ways. The corporate executive who had once measured her worth in deals closed and promotions earned now found her greatest joy in the ordinary moments of motherhood. Making breakfast on busy mornings, helping with science fair projects, shopping for first day of school outfits, staying up late to talk about life's big questions. These were the moments that made her life rich beyond measure. Their apartment, once featured in architectural magazines for its minimalist design, now told the story of their journey together. Emily's artwork hung alongside expensive paintings. Family photos covered the formerly stark walls. The kitchen, once pristine and barely used, now bore the marks of countless cooking adventures and family dinners. Phoenix, their one-eyed cat, had his own story of transformation. Like Emily, he had known abandonment and uncertainty. Like Sarah, he had learned to open his heart to love again. He moved between them with quiet confidence, a living reminder that broken things could become beautiful, that past hurts didn't define future possibilities. As Emily approached her 15th birthday, she and Sarah sat down to write a book together about their journey. They wanted to share their story with others who might be considering adoption, who might be afraid to take that leap of faith, who might need to know that family could be found in unexpected places. "What should we call it?" Emily asked, notebook open on their kitchen table. Sarah thought for a moment. "How about finding home? Because that's what we did. We found our way home to each other." Emily smiled, adding her own thoughts to the growing list of chapter ideas. They spent hours recounting their journey, the challenges, the breakthroughs, the moments of doubt, and the countless moments of joy. Their story resonated with others in ways they hadn't expected. Social workers began sharing it with potential adoptive parents. School counselors used it to help other adopted children feel less alone. Foster kids read it and found hope in its pages. But more than anything, writing their story helped them appreciate how far they'd come. They remembered the early days, Sarah's uncertainty about her parenting abilities, Emily's fear of being sent away, their mutual struggle to bridge the gap between past and present. They remembered the first time Emily called Sarah Mom, not because she felt she had to, but because it felt right. The first time Sarah realized she couldn't imagine her life without Emily in it. The first time they both understood that they were exactly where they were meant to be. Their journey had taught them countless lessons. They learned that healing wasn't a destination but a process, that love grew stronger when tested, that family was something you built day by day, choice by choice, moment by moment. They learned that second chances weren't just about starting over. They were about creating something new from the pieces of what was broken. They were about finding strength in vulnerability, beauty in imperfection, hope in the midst of uncertainty. As their story continued to unfold, Sarah and Emily faced each new challenge together. College applications loomed on the horizon, bringing both excitement and anxiety. Emily's dreams of becoming a child psychologist were taking shape, fueled by her own experience and her desire to help others. Sarah had adjusted her career to prioritize their family life, finding a balance that allowed her to succeed professionally while being present for the important moments. She'd become a mentor to other adoptive parents, sharing the wisdom she'd gained through experience. Their home had become a gathering place for Emily's friends, many of whom were also adopted or in foster care. The kitchen island that had once held only takeout menus now hosted study groups, birthday celebrations, and heart-to-heart conversations over hot chocolate and homemade cookies. They maintained their Sunday evening tradition of sharing highs and lows, though now they often included Phoenix in their discussions. "His high was probably catching that moth in the living room," Emily would joke, scratching behind their cat's ears as he purred contentedly. Their relationship had deepened with time, growing more nuanced and complex as Emily matured. They could disagree without fear, knowing their bond was strong enough to weather any storm. They could be honest about their struggles, trusting that understanding would follow. Sarah watched her daughter with pride, seeing not just who Emily had become, but who she was becoming. The shadows of her past hadn't disappeared completely, but they no longer defined her. Instead, they were part of her story, contributing to her empathy, her resilience, her determination to make a difference. Emily, in turn, saw her mother not just as a parent, but as a person who had been brave enough to change her life completely, who had chosen love over certainty, who had learned to be vulnerable in the pursuit of something meaningful. Together, they had created something remarkable, not just a family, but a testament to the power of love to transform lives. Their story continued to inspire others, showing that it's never too late to open your heart, that family can be found in unexpected places, that love is worth every risk. As they looked toward the future, they knew there would be more challenges to face, more obstacles to overcome, more moments of growth and change. But they faced it all together, secure in the knowledge that they had found their home in each other. Their journey had started with a simple question at a charity gala, led them through years of growth and transformation, and brought them to a place of deep, abiding love. It wasn't always easy, but it was always worth it. In the end, their story was about more than adoption. It was about the courage to begin again, the strength to trust after betrayal, the power of unconditional love to heal old wounds. It was about two people who were meant to be family finding their way to each other, despite all odds. Sarah and Emily's story continued to unfold, day by day, moment by moment, each chapter bringing new challenges and joys. But through it all, they held on to the truth they had discovered together. That love, when chosen and nurtured, has the power to transform everything it touches. They had found their home in each other, and in doing so, they had discovered that sometimes the most beautiful stories are the ones we never expected to live. Their journey was a testament to the power of second chances, the strength of chosen family, and the transformative magic of opening our hearts to love. As they sat together on their balcony, watching another Chicago sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors, they knew that their story was far from over. But whatever the future held, they would face it together, mother and daughter, two hearts that had found their way home. The summer before Emily's senior year brought a new chapter in their journey. As college brochures began piling up on their coffee table, Sarah noticed a subtle shift in their dynamic. The thought of Emily leaving for college stirred up complex emotions for both of them. One evening, as they sat sorting through university pamphlets, Emily suddenly looked up at Sarah with tears in her eyes. "I'm scared," she admitted softly. "Not just about college, but about leaving home, about leaving you." Sarah pulled her daughter close, remembering the small 10-year-old who had been afraid to unpack her backpack that first night. "Home will always be here," she assured Emily. "And so will I. Growing up doesn't mean leaving behind what we've built. It means building on its foundation." They spent that summer creating a memory book together, filling it with photographs and stories from their years as a family. Each page held moments both ordinary and extraordinary. Emily's first day of middle school, their vacation to the ocean, countless pictures of Phoenix in various states of sleepy contentment, holiday celebrations, and quiet evenings at home. "Remember this?" Emily laughed, pointing to a photo of their disastrous attempt at making homemade pasta. The kitchen had been covered in flour, and Phoenix had left tiny paw prints across the countertops. "We ended up ordering pizza, but we learned something important that day," Sarah reminded her, smiling at the memory. "Sometimes the best moments come from our biggest messes." As they worked on the memory book, they began talking more openly about the future. Emily's dream of becoming a child psychologist had grown more focused. She wanted to specialize in adoption and foster care therapy, using her own experience to help other children navigate their journeys. "You know what made the biggest difference for me?" Emily said one evening as they sat surrounded by college applications. "It wasn't just that you adopted me. It was that you let me be scared and confused, and sometimes even angry. You gave me space to figure out who I was while always making sure I knew I was loved." Sarah felt tears welling up in her eyes. "You taught me so much too, sweetheart. You taught me that being a mother isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. It's about showing up every day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." Their relationship had evolved into something neither of them could have imagined in those early days. The trust they had built was unshakable, forged through years of honest conversations, shared struggles, and unwavering support. They could read each other's moods, anticipate each other's needs, and provide comfort without words. Emily's senior year brought a whirlwind of activities, college applications, scholarship essays, senior portraits, and countless lasts that marked the end of her high school journey. Sarah watched her daughter navigate it all with grace and determination, proud of the young woman she had become. The day the first acceptance letter arrived, they celebrated with ice cream sundaes for dinner, a tradition they had started years ago for special occasions. Phoenix sat between them on the couch, contentedly licking vanilla ice cream from his paw. "Mom," Emily said, her voice thoughtful, "remember when you first told me about wanting to adopt? You said you felt like something was missing in your life." Sarah nodded, remembering that conversation from years ago. "I felt the same way," Emily continued, "like I was missing something, or maybe like I was waiting for something. I didn't know it then, but I was waiting for you, for us to become a family." Their journey had come full circle. The empty penthouse had become a home filled with love and laughter. The successful executive had become a mother whose greatest achievements were measured in moments of connection and growth. The scared little girl had become a confident young woman ready to make her mark on the world. As Emily's graduation approached, they found themselves reminiscing more often about their journey. They talked about the early days, the challenges they had overcome, the moments that had shaped their bond. They talked about the future too, about college plans, about maintaining their connection across distance, about the new chapter they were about to begin. "You know what I've learned?" Emily said one evening as they sat on their balcony, watching the city lights twinkle below. "Family isn't just about who we are to each other. It's about who we help each other become." Sarah squeezed her daughter's hand, thinking about how far they had come. The journey hadn't always been easy, but every step had led them exactly where they needed to be. They had found each other, chosen each other, and built something beautiful together. Their story continued to inspire others in their community. Sarah had become a mentor to several prospective adoptive parents, sharing her experience and wisdom. Emily spoke at adoption awareness events, her words touching hearts and changing minds about older child adoption. Together, they had created more than just a family. They had built a legacy of love, hope, and second chances. Their journey showed that it's never too late to open your heart, that family can be found in unexpected places, and that love has the power to heal and transform. As they prepared for the next chapter in their story, they knew that their bond would only grow stronger. Distance couldn't diminish what they had built together. Their love had transformed them both, turning an empty penthouse into a home, turning strangers into family, turning broken pieces into something whole and beautiful. Phoenix stretched lazily between them, a living reminder of their shared belief in second chances. The cat who had once been overlooked at the shelter had become an integral part of their family, just as they had become essential to each other. Their story wasn't just about adoption anymore. It was about the power of love to bridge any gap, heal any wound, and create something extraordinary from ordinary moments. It was about two people who had found their way home to each other, and in doing so, had discovered the true meaning of family. As the sun set on another day in their shared life, Sarah and Emily held on to each other, grateful for the journey that had brought them together and excited for the chapters yet to come. Their story was far from over. It was simply entering a new phase, one that would bring its own challenges and joys, its own lessons and discoveries. They had learned that love wasn't just about finding each other. It was about choosing each other every day, about growing together through changes and challenges, about building a foundation strong enough to support any dream. Their bond had become an anchor, giving them both the strength to face whatever the future might hold. Together, they had rewritten the definition of family, proving that the strongest bonds aren't always formed by blood, but by choice, by love, and by the daily decision to be there for each other, no matter what. Their story continued to unfold, a testament to the transformative power of opening our hearts to love and second chances. As they sat together, watching another day fade into night, they knew that their journey was just beginning. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever changes time might bring, they would face them together, mother and daughter, two hearts that had found their way home to each other, their love growing stronger with each passing day. The weeks leading up to Emily's high school graduation brought a whirlwind of emotions. Sarah found herself searching through old photographs late at night, marveling at how quickly time had passed. There was Emily on her first day of middle school, nervous but determined. Emily winning the science fair in 9th grade. Emily volunteering at the local animal shelter where they'd found Phoenix. Each photo told a story of growth, of love, of their journey together. One evening, as they worked on Emily's graduation speech. She had been chosen as class speaker. Emily paused, her pen hovering over the paper. "Mom, do you think my birth mother ever thinks about me?" The question hung in the air, delicate and heavy with meaning. Sarah took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. "I believe she does, sweetheart. And I believe she would be incredibly proud of the person you've become." Emily nodded slowly, adding another line to her speech. "I want to talk about second chances in my speech. Not just about adoption, but about how life sometimes takes us down unexpected paths that turn out to be exactly where we needed to go." Sarah watched her daughter write, remembering all the moments that had led them here. The nervous meetings at the foster care center, the tentative first weeks together, the gradual building of trust and love. Now Emily was preparing to address her graduating class, ready to share their story with confidence and grace. The graduation ceremony itself was a testament to how far they'd come. As Emily stood at the podium, her voice clear and strong, Sarah felt her heart swell with pride. Phoenix watched the live stream from home, curled up in his favorite sunny spot by the window. "Life doesn't always give us what we expect," Emily began, her words carrying across the hushed auditorium. "Sometimes it gives us something better. 7 years ago, I was a scared 10-year-old who had stopped believing in happy endings. Then I met someone who showed me that family isn't about where you start, it's about where you choose to belong." In the audience, Sarah wiped away tears as Emily continued, speaking about resilience, about the courage to begin again, about the power of love to transform lives. The standing ovation that followed wasn't just for Emily's words. It was for every child who had ever needed a second chance, for every parent who had opened their heart to love, for every family built on choice rather than circumstance. That summer became a bridge between their past and future. They created new traditions while honoring old ones. Their Sunday evening talks on the balcony now included discussions about dorm room decorations and campus meal plans. Phoenix supervised their shopping trips for college supplies, batting at packing tape and claiming empty boxes as his new favorite spots. One night, as they sorted through Emily's belongings, deciding what would go to college and what would stay home, they found her old backpack, the same one she'd kept packed for quick moves during her years in foster care. Emily held it for a long moment, running her fingers over the worn fabric. "I kept this packed for the first 6 months I lived here," she admitted quietly. "Just in case. I couldn't believe this was really my home." Sarah sat beside her daughter, remembering those early days. "And now?" Emily smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "Now I know that home isn't a place, it's us. It's the family we built together. It's knowing that no matter where I go or what I do, I'll always have this love to come back to." They decided to turn the backpack into an art project, covering it with photos and memories from their years together. It would hang in Emily's dorm room, a reminder of where she'd been and how far she'd come. As moving day approached, their apartment became a mix of excitement and nostalgia. Emily's room was organized chaos. Boxes labeled for college stacked alongside childhood treasures she couldn't bear to part with. Sarah found herself lingering in doorways, memorizing moments. Emily studying at her desk, lounging on her bed with Phoenix, getting ready for her last summer with high school friends. The night before they were scheduled to drive to college, they had one final balcony chat. The Chicago skyline sparkled around them, the same view that had witnessed countless conversations over the years. Phoenix settled between them, purring contentedly as always. "I've been thinking," Emily said, her voice soft in the evening air. "Remember when you told me that sometimes it takes a while for the right people to find each other?" Sarah nodded, remembering that conversation from years ago. "I understand it better now," Emily continued. "Everything that happened, even the hard stuff, led us to each other. And now it's leading me to where I need to go next. But this time, I'm not scared, because I know that no matter where life takes me, I'll always have you. We'll always have us." Sarah pulled her daughter close, breathing in the moment. They had come so far from those first tentative days of building trust. The scared little girl who'd been afraid to unpack her backpack had grown into a confident young woman ready to chase her dreams. The career-focused executive who'd been afraid of disrupting her perfectly ordered life had discovered that love was worth any destruction. "You know what makes me happiest?" Sarah said, watching the stars appear in the darkening sky. Not just that we found each other, but that we choose each other every day. That's what makes our family special. It's built on choice, on love, on the decision to be there for each other no matter what. Emily leaned her head on her mother's shoulder, just as she had done countless times over the years. We're going to be okay, aren't we? Even with me away at college? More than okay, Sarah assured her. This isn't an ending, it's just a new chapter in our story. And our story is far from over. As they sat there together, mother and daughter, with their one-eyed cat purring between them, they both knew that whatever changes lay ahead, their bond would only grow stronger. They had built something beautiful together, a family founded on choice, strengthened by love, and made richer by every challenge they'd overcome. Their journey had taught them that love isn't diminished by distance, that family isn't confined by traditional definitions, and that the most precious gifts often come in unexpected packages. As they watched the city lights twinkle below, they were grateful for every step that had led them here, to this moment, to each other, to the endless possibilities that lay ahead. Tomorrow would bring changes, but tonight they had this moment. Two hearts that had found their way home, sharing one more evening under the stars, their love a beacon lighting the way forward into whatever adventures awaited them next. The morning of move-in day dawned bright and clear, the Chicago skyline bathed in golden light. Sarah found Emily already awake, sitting cross-legged on her bed, Phoenix curled in her lap. The room looked different now. Walls bare where posters had hung, shelves empty of books and trinkets, everything packed away in boxes and suitcases. I couldn't sleep, Emily admitted, scratching behind Phoenix's ears. I kept thinking about all the firsts we've had in this room. First nightmare you helped me through. First time I felt safe enough to really unpack. First time I truly believed this was home. Sarah sat beside them, remembering those moments too. And now we're about to have a whole new set of firsts. The drive to campus was filled with a mixture of excitement and nervous energy. They played their favorite road trip games, shared memories of their years together, and talked about their hopes for the future. Phoenix traveled in his carrier in the back seat, occasionally meowing his contributions to their conversation. The university campus was buzzing with activity. Other families unloading cars, new students clutching campus maps, orientation leaders in bright t-shirts directing traffic. As they began unpacking Emily's things, Sarah noticed how her daughter's hands trembled slightly as she arranged books on her desk. "You know," Sarah said softly, "when I first brought you home, I was terrified I wouldn't know how to be a good mother. But you taught me something important. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is simply show up, day after day, with an open heart." Emily paused, holding a framed photo of the three of them, her, Sarah, and Phoenix, taken during their beach vacation. "You did more than show up, Mom. You showed me what unconditional love looks like. You taught me that family isn't about perfect moments. It's about being there for all the moments, good and hard." They spent the afternoon transforming the standard dorm room into a space that felt like Emily. The art project backpack hung prominently on the wall, a symbol of how far she'd come. Photos covered the bulletin board, memories of their life together mixed with dreams of what lay ahead. Phoenix explored every corner of the room, leaving invisible marks of home in his wake. As evening approached, the moment they'd both been dreading drew near. Sarah helped Emily make her bed with the new sheets they'd picked out together, smoothing the corners just as she had done countless times at home. They stood in the middle of the room, looking at their handiwork, neither quite ready to say goodbye. "I made something for you," Sarah said, pulling a small package from her purse. Inside was a journal, its cover decorated with pressed flowers and photographs. "I've been writing in it since the day we met. Little moments, big achievements, things that made me proud, things that made me grateful. I thought you might want to read it during those times when home feels far away." Emily hugged the journal to her chest, tears spilling onto her cheeks. "Mom, there's something else," Sarah continued, her voice thick with emotion. She pulled out a second, blank journal. "This one is for you to fill with your own stories, your own adventures. Because this isn't the end of our story, it's just the beginning of a new chapter." They held each other tightly, Phoenix weaving between their legs, offering his own form of comfort, years of love, trust, and shared experiences flowed between them in that embrace. "You know what I realized?" Emily said, wiping her eyes. "All those years in foster care, I thought I was waiting for a perfect family, but what I really needed was someone who would love me through the imperfect moments, someone who would choose me every day, even when it was hard." Sarah cupped her daughter's face in her hands. "And I needed someone who would teach me that success isn't measured in promotions or bank accounts, but in moments of connection and growth. You made me a mother, Emily. You made me whole." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the dorm room window, they shared one last hug. Phoenix purred loudly from his perch on Emily's new desk chair, as if lending his strength to the moment. "Remember," Sarah whispered, "home is just a phone call away, and your room will always be waiting for you, exactly as you left it, with Phoenix's fur on everything." Emily laughed through her tears. "Especially with Phoenix's fur on everything." Walking back to her car alone, Sarah felt a complex mix of emotions: pride, love, sadness, joy, and hope all swirling together. She thought about the scared executive she'd been 7 years ago, worried about disrupting her perfectly ordered life. That disruption had turned out to be the greatest blessing she could have imagined. Back at home, the apartment felt different, quieter, but not empty. Phoenix padded from room to room, occasionally meowing questioningly at Emily's closed door. Sarah sat on the balcony, watching the city lights come alive as darkness fell. Her phone buzzed with a text from Emily. "Made it through dinner in the dining hall. My roommate loves the photo wall. Phoenix would hate the food. I miss you already. Love you, Mom." Sarah smiled, typing back, "So proud of you, sweetheart. Phoenix is guarding your room. We both love you more than words can say." Later that night, unable to sleep, Sarah opened her laptop and began writing. She had promised Emily they would continue their story together, just in a different way. Each day, she would write about their journey, not just the past, but the present and future too, because their story wasn't ending. It was evolving, growing, embracing new chapters while holding tight to the love that had brought them together. The Chicago skyline twinkled outside her window, the same view that had witnessed their entire journey. But now, instead of seeing emptiness in its reflection, Sarah saw possibility. Their love had transformed not just their lives, but their very understanding of what family could be. As Phoenix curled up beside her, Sarah thought about all the ways love could bridge any distance. She and Emily had built something beautiful together, a bond that couldn't be broken by time or space. Their story would continue to unfold, day by day, mile by mile, heart to heart. Tomorrow would bring new adventures for both of them. But tonight, under the same stars, they were connected by the love they had chosen, the family they had built, and the unshakable knowledge that home wasn't just a place. It was the space they had created in each other's hearts. The journey that had begun with a lonely executive and a guarded 10-year-old had transformed into something extraordinary. Their story had become a testament to the power of love, the strength of chosen family, and the beautiful truth that sometimes the best things in life come from taking a chance on love. The first few weeks of Emily's college life brought new rhythms to their relationship. Their daily text became a lifeline, sharing moments both big and small. Sarah would send photos of Phoenix in various states of repose, often curled up in Emily's empty room. Emily would respond with snapshots of campus life. Her first successful lab experiment, the autumn leaves turning on the quad, late-night study sessions in the library. Their Sunday evening tradition continued, transformed by technology. Instead of sharing hot chocolate on the balcony, they connected through video calls, Phoenix often trying to catch the movement on the screen. Emily would position her laptop so she could see the Chicago skyline behind her mother, that familiar view that had witnessed so many of their conversations. "Tell me everything," Sarah would say, and Emily would unfold her week. The challenges of college classes, the friendship she was building, her growing passion for psychology. She was taking an introductory course in child development, and her unique perspective as an adopted child often brought valuable insights to class discussions. "My professor asked me to speak to the class about my experience," Emily shared during one of their calls. "I was nervous at first, but then I remembered what you always taught me, that our story might help someone else find their courage." Sarah felt pride surge through her heart. You've come so far from the girl who was afraid to raise her hand in class. Remember your first parent-teacher conference? Emily laughed. When Mrs. Rodriguez said I hadn't spoken a word in 2 weeks, and now I'm giving presentations to college classes. Life is funny that way. Their relationship was evolving, growing into something new yet familiar. Sarah was learning to be a different kind of mother, one who supported from afar, who listened more than advised, who trusted in the foundation they had built together. One night, about a month into the semester, Emily called in tears. Her roommate had made an insensitive comment about adoption, triggering old insecurities. Sarah listened as her daughter poured out her feelings, wishing she could reach through the screen and hold her. Sometimes, Emily confessed, I still get scared, not about us, never about us, but about everything that happened before, about why I wasn't enough for my birth family to keep. Sarah took a deep breath, her heart aching. You were always enough, sweetheart. Sometimes people aren't ready to be parents, no matter how much they might want to be. But that's about their journey, not yours. You are extraordinary, Emily. You always have been. As they talked through the night, Sarah remembered similar conversations from years past, when Emily would wake from nightmares about being sent away. The fears might have evolved, but their way of facing them together remained constant. Back in Chicago, Sarah was adapting to her own new normal. The apartment felt different with Emily away, not empty, but changed, like a familiar song played in a different key. She found herself looking at old photos more often, tracing their journey from tentative beginnings to the strong bond they shared now. Phoenix seemed to sense the shift in their household dynamics. He spent more time on the balcony with Sarah during their evening video calls, as if determined to maintain his presence in both their lives. His one-eyed gaze would follow Sarah around the apartment, especially when she went into Emily's room to water the plants they had forgotten to pack. One evening, as Sarah was cleaning out some old files, she found Emily's original adoption papers. Sitting on the floor of her home office, surrounded by documents that had officially made them a family, she remembered the nervous excitement of those early days. How could she have known then that taking that leap of faith would lead to the greatest joy of her life? She texted Emily, found something interesting in the archives. Remember the day these became official? Emily replied almost immediately, how could I forget? First time I felt like I really had a forever home. First time I believed in happy endings again. Their story had become an inspiration to others in ways they hadn't expected. Sarah was now mentoring several prospective adoptive parents, sharing their journey with honesty and hope. Emily had started a blog about her experiences as an adopted child now in college, creating a space for others to share their stories too. As autumn deepened into winter, they planned for Emily's first visit home. Sarah found herself counting the days, preparing Emily's favorite meals, making sure everything was exactly as she'd left it. Phoenix seemed to sense the anticipation, spending more time in Emily's room as the date approached. The night before Emily was due home, Sarah sat on the balcony with Phoenix, watching the first snow of the season dust the Chicago skyline. She thought about all the ways their love had grown and changed over the years, how it had survived every challenge and emerged stronger. Their story wasn't just about adoption anymore. It was about the endless capacity of the heart to grow, to heal, to build bridges across any distance. It was about two people who had found each other against all odds and chosen, every day since, to be family. As the snow fell softly around them, Sarah smiled, knowing that tomorrow would bring Emily home. Their journey continued to unfold in new and beautiful ways, proving that love, when built on trust and choice, could withstand any change, bridge any gap, and transform any challenge into an opportunity for growth. The lights of Chicago twinkled through the falling snow, each one a reminder of the countless moments that had led them here. Their story was far from over. It was simply entering a new chapter, one that would bring its own joys, its own challenges, and its own opportunities to choose each other again and again. Phoenix purred contentedly beside her, a living reminder of their shared belief in second chances. Together, they watched the snow transform the city, just as love had transformed their lives, turning an empty penthouse into a home, strangers into family, and broken pieces into something whole and beautiful. The morning Emily was due home, Sarah woke before dawn, watching the snow continue to fall and gentle swirls past her window. The city was quieter than usual, muffled by the blanket of white that had transformed the familiar landscape. Phoenix seemed to share her anticipation, pacing between the front door and Emily's room with unusual energy. Sarah had spent the previous evening preparing everything. Emily's favorite lasagna was ready to go in the oven. Her room was exactly as she'd left it, save for Phoenix's daily inspections, and fresh flowers brightened the kitchen counter. Small touches that said, "Welcome home," in all the ways words couldn't quite capture. The drive to the airport felt longer than usual, each minute stretched by anticipation. Sarah found herself remembering another drive years ago. The first time she brought Emily home, how nervous they'd both been then, two strangers trying to become family. Now, years later, their bond was unshakable, proven by distance rather than diminished by it. When Emily finally appeared through the arrival gates, her face lit up with a smile that brought tears to Sarah's eyes. They held each other tightly, neither speaking for a long moment, simply absorbing the joy of being together again. "You look different," Sarah said finally, studying her daughter's face. Emily laughed. "Mom, I've only been gone 3 months. No, it's something in your eyes. More confidence, maybe. College suits you." The drive home was filled with Emily's stories, animated tales of late-night study sessions, new friendships, challenging classes, and small victories. Sarah listened with her heart full, hearing not just the words but the growth behind them. The self-assured young woman her daughter was becoming. "And my child development professor asked me to be her research assistant next semester," Emily announced excitedly. "She says my perspective on adoption and attachment theory could bring something unique to her study." "That's wonderful, sweetheart. Though I'm not surprised. You've always had such insight into what children in the system need." As they pulled into their parking garage, Emily grew quiet. "It feels strange," she admitted, "coming back home as a visitor." Sarah turned to her daughter. "This isn't just a visit, Emily. This is still your home. It always will be. You're just spreading your wings wider now." Phoenix greeted them at the door with loud meows and demanding purrs, weaving between Emily's legs until she picked him up. "I missed you too, old man," she laughed, burying her face in his fur. That evening, they fell easily back into their old routines, sharing dinner at the kitchen island, Emily helping with the dishes despite Sarah's protests, then settling on the balcony with hot chocolate. The snow had stopped, leaving the city gleaming under a fresh white coat. "You know what I realized at college?" Emily said, watching the steam rise from her mug. "Our story isn't just ours anymore. Every time I share it in class or with friends, it becomes something bigger. It gives people hope." Sarah nodded, understanding exactly what her daughter meant. "That's the thing about love. It multiplies when you share it. Every person who hears our story and believes in second chances, every family that opens their heart to adoption, they become part of our journey too." They talked late into the night, their conversation flowing easily between past and present, memories and dreams. Emily shared her struggles and triumphs from her first semester, while Sarah talked about the changes in her own life, how she'd started a support group for adoptive parents, how their story had inspired others to consider adopting older children. "Remember when I used to be afraid to sleep?" Emily asked softly. "Those first few weeks, when I kept waiting for everything to disappear?" "You used to read under the covers with a flashlight," Sarah remembered. "I'd find you asleep with books scattered around you." "Books felt safe," Emily explained. "They were the one constant in all the foster homes. But you know what? My dorm room felt safe from the first night, because you taught me that home isn't just a place. It's knowing you're loved no matter what." Sarah reached for her daughter's hand, squeezing it gently. "You taught me that too. Before you, I thought success meant having the perfect career, the perfect apartment, the perfect life. You showed me that real perfection is in the messy moments, the challenging times, the times when we choose each other despite everything." Phoenix had settled between them, purring contentedly, completing their family circle. The city lights twinkled around them, a familiar backdrop to their renewed connection. Their relationship had evolved, grown deeper and richer with the addition of distance and independence. As they sat together under the stars, Sarah marveled at how far they'd come from those first tentative days. The scared little girl who'd been afraid to unpack her backpack was now a confident college student pursuing her dreams. The career-focused executive who'd been afraid of disrupting her perfectly ordered life had discovered that love was the greatest adventure of all. Their story continued to unfold in new and beautiful ways, proving that the bonds of chosen family could stretch across any distance without breaking. Each challenge they faced, each milestone they celebrated, added another chapter to their journey, a journey that had transformed not just their lives, but their understanding of what family truly meant. As the night grew later, they remained on the balcony, neither wanting this moment to end. Their love had created something extraordinary, a home that existed not just in the physical space of their apartment, but in the infinite space of their hearts. It was a love that had survived every test, grown stronger with every challenge, and continued to light the way forward into whatever adventures awaited them next. The Chicago skyline stood witness to their reunion, just as it had witnessed their entire journey. But now, instead of reflecting emptiness, it mirrored the fullness of their lives. Lives transformed by the power of choice, of love, of the daily decision to be family. Their story was far from over. It was simply growing richer with each passing day, each shared moment, each choice to love without conditions or limitations.